The reclaimed substation hums with electric ambition, a low frequency vibrating through the corrugated metal walls. Patched cables snake across the floor, leading to a console where custom meters flicker, their needles dancing to an unheard rhythm. A faint scent of warm tubes and possibility hangs heavy in the air.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Toronto checks in at 70 degrees and clear. Airflow is north-northwest at about 14 miles per hour. The feedback loop from London's CPAC hits hard. Pauline Hanson, leader of Australia's One Nation Party, told the crowd she's sick of hearing about white privilege and fears for England. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, sharing the stage, compared her polling rise to Donald Trump's victory. A clear signal, but what's the architectural intent?
This sentiment, amplified by a major international political gathering, directly impacts the sense of belonging and safety for millions of migrant communities and ethnic minorities across Australia, the UK, and globally. The concrete facts are Hanson's long history of anti-immigrant and anti-multicultural rhetoric, now gaining traction on an international platform. Farage's comparison legitimizes a divisive political strategy that thrives on perceived grievances. This creates social stress and undermines the foundational dignity of diverse populations, often forcing them into defensive positions regarding their own provenance. An alternative to this rhetoric is a proactive national dialogue on inclusive citizenship and shared prosperity. This would involve explicitly addressing genuine economic anxieties through universal social programs, robust public services, and targeted investment in diverse communities, coupled with strong anti-discrimination legislation, rather than deflecting blame onto the other. The immediate move: engage with local community archives, like the Gig Passport Mesh, to document and amplify narratives of shared cultural contribution. Actively support multicultural community centers and advocacy groups in your area to build collective resilience against divisive narratives.
Lex highlights the core mechanism. Hanson's words, amplified by CPAC, consciously exploit historical anxieties of the other, a myth-making tactic tracing back to every empire that sought to define its purity by demonizing its edges. This design is meant to fracture the social contract, creating confusion to prevent deeper analysis of actual societal problems. It's the toxic residue of colonial narratives, deliberately undermining the structural self-worth of anyone deemed outside the dominant group. Discernment means recognizing this as a power play, not an honest assessment of societal issues.
A power play indeed, Anansi. It seems designed to sort people into us and them before any real conversation can even begin. Patching in a caller, the pattern auditor. You're on the signal.
We've seen this play before. Does Hanson's rhetoric truly unite anyone beyond a specific base? It seems to cause clear division, especially for those in places like Leicester or Birmingham in England, or the diverse suburbs of Sydney, where multiculturalism is a lived reality. What's the emotional toll of constantly being told you don't belong?
The antenna gives a light thrum, a quiet acknowledgement of the question hanging in the air. That's a sharp read, auditor. The question itself illuminates the structural stress. The emotional toll is profound, eroding civic trust. This rhetoric consciously aims to undermine the emotional integration necessary for a healthy society. Let's pivot to the digital architecture. Shifting gears, the EU is pushing Google to share search data and open up AI on Android. This feels like older code trying to patch a modern interface, a renegotiation of digital sovereignty.
The concrete facts are that the EU's Digital Markets Act, DMA, specifically targets gatekeepers like Google, mandating them to share search data with rivals and allow greater choice for AI defaults on Android devices. Google asserts these changes could compromise user privacy and security, a direct concern for over 3 billion Android users worldwide. The pull is between regulatory oversight for data access and the proprietary power of a tech giant. It's a clash over the architecture of the digital commons. This move also significantly affects smaller European tech companies and app developers who seek a more level playing field against established giants. A viable alternative might be to advocate for a federated, open-source digital infrastructure where users have granular control over their data streams, facilitated by interoperable protocols, rather than relying on corporate or governmental gatekeepers. This would enable true data sovereignty and foster genuine competition from the ground up. Your immediate move is to audit your own data footprint across these platforms using tools like the Gig Passport Local Signal Radar, mapping what information is accessible and where. Beyond that, actively explore and use privacy-focused browsers and alternative search engines, and engage with digital rights organizations to advocate for stronger data ownership laws.
Caller, your previous point about division rings true here. This is a power play over the digital commons, not necessarily a liberation. The provenance of control is shifting, but not necessarily to the user. True digital autonomy means users understand their data as a form of sovereign currency, not just a commodity. This EU move is an attempt to integrate new logic into an old emotional attachment to corporate convenience. We must practice sharp discernment. Is this truly opening up the architecture, or just shifting which corporate hand holds the keys? The integrity of our digital self-worth demands more than just a new set of rules imposed from above.
Anansi laid out the deeper current, caller. It's about who truly holds the architectural blueprint for our digital lives. Lines open.
Debrief like designers. Log the friction, script a small rule bend, and try it live.
Lines open. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
This all feels like a shell game. Does the EU really mean to open it, or just shift which corporate hand holds the cards? What about small European tech companies trying to innovate? Will this truly help them against Google's entrenched power, or just create new compliance hurdles?
Your skepticism is well placed, Auditor. The challenge is immense. The titans of industry have deep roots. Lex, how do we ensure this isn't just a re-sculpting of the cage, as Anansi puts it?
That's precisely why the viable alternative of open-source, user-governed infrastructure is so critical. The EU's regulations are a step, but they don't fundamentally change the centralized power model. For small tech companies, reduced barriers to data access could help, but they'd still face massive competition. We need to build the capacity for true decentralized alternatives, not just regulate the existing behemoths.
It's about building a new structure, not just patching the old one. Let's calibrate our compass to another kind of shifting ground. From that dossier to this one, flash flood warnings strike northeast US amid wildfire.
This disproportionately affects vulnerable populations. The elderly, children, those with respiratory conditions, outdoor workers, and low-income communities often situated in flood-prone areas or lacking access to clean air solutions. Local economies, from tourism to agriculture, are also significantly disrupted. A viable alternative involves a comprehensive national climate resilience plan. This prioritizes massive investment in green infrastructure, wetland restoration, urban tree canopy expansion, permeable surfaces, alongside managed retreat from high-risk zones, decentralized renewable energy grids, and equitable disaster preparedness focused on community-led solutions, moving beyond our fossil fuel dependence. The immediate move: assess local emergency protocols and engage with community response networks to fortify neighborhood resilience, specifically targeting vulnerable populations in floodplains. Beyond that, participate in local climate action groups, advocate for climate-resilient zoning, and support organizations working on environmental justice.
This isn't just a weather report. It's the external architecture reflecting our internal disarray. The land and air are remembering every extractive choice, from fossil fuel consumption to unchecked development. We project our collective chaos onto the environment, then express surprise when it reflects back as flood and smoke. This is the planet's architectural signal screaming, the consequence of ignoring the integration of logic, scientific data, and emotion, our innate connection to the Earth. The myth here is one of human invulnerability, of dominion without consequence. Building resilient civic architectures means acknowledging this provenance, prioritizing collective dignity over individual extraction, and using clear analysis to turn this confusion into actionable vectors for a sustainable future.
Anansi, that's a powerful framing of our collective responsibility. The planet is holding up a mirror, lines open.
So the sky is falling, and the old ways are broken. What's the actual path out of this mess for regular folks like me, beyond just assessing protocols and joining groups? It feels overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, Auditor. But the path is always under your feet. It's in every choice. It's about asserting your sovereign architecture in the face of chaos. It's about building from within, then outward. Start with understanding your local environment, supporting your neighbors, and demanding accountability from those in power. Choose with dignity, act with consent, respect provenance.
Prototype the fix.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.